Fed Chair Powell cut by 25 basis points today. And after the cut, it seems as though the dot plot looks a little bit more dovish. And that's what many market participants were looking for. If we head on over here to Fed Watch, we might even be able to see the updated dot plot. But yeah, that's the news of the day that Fed Chair Powell cut by 25 basis points today, and the dot plot was revised a little bit lower. So let's just take a look here. So over here on Fed Watch, and after the cut, it seems as though the dot plot looks a little bit more dovish. And that's what many market participants were looking for. If we head on over here to Fed Watch, we might even be able to see the updated dot plot. But yeah, that's the news of the day that Fed Chair Powell cut by 25 basis points today, and the dot plot was revised a little bit lower. So let's just take a look here. So over here on Fed Watch, notice down here where it says dot plot, and then I click on chart. So this refers to the expectations, the interest rate expectations for the Fed funds rate from each of the Fed governors. So each one of these dots represents, the expectation of a Fed governor. And I think there's like, a dozen that vote. But I think that overall there may be more than a dozen in total, but there's like 12 that actually vote, something like that. This is the so-called dot plot, and what people were looking for was not just that 25 basis point cut today. Market participants were looking for a little bit of confirmation that the path moving forward of interest rates of the Fed funds rate was going to be to the downside. That was something that a lot of market participants were looking for today, and we seem to have gotten it. So that's a good thing, that rates seem to be coming down. And, the reaction from the market is, to move to the downside a little bit. I think it's really just filling the gap from that futures roll. But something that has been on my radar here is NVIDIA, because it seems as though Bitcoin and Ethereum, but specifically Bitcoin, that it trades more like NVIDIA than it does like gold. So when there's a piece of news today that the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party, ordered its, the state entities or just private companies in China to not only end all, future orders of NVIDIA chips, but also to cancel any existing orders. NVIDIA at its trough today was down a little bit over 3%. So, but right now, just filling the gap. That's really all that's happened so far today. For NVIDIA, there was a gap up and now gap down. So just filling this gap here, there hasn't been any structural damage done. You take a look at the S&P, and S&P, has been down, but has been, up throughout the rest of the day here. And Bitcoin, rejected at resistance last night. So the important level of resistance here is 117.5. That's the important level. And if we zoom in, you'll be able to see that, last night we got rejected just below resistance. And then today, a little bit of volatility, on the rate cut announcement. Same thing with ETH. ETH, a little bit of volatility here today, but I mean, kind of to be expected on a Fed day. So, just looking around the space here, the dollar has had a big, big move. You take a look at that breakdown that we saw just a couple of days ago. Well, what was it? Yesterday? Maybe. So big breakdown out of the dollar. We got the retest of this long-term trend line support. Now I'm zoomed in to a 4 hour, but if I zoom out to a weekly, you'll be able to see this long-term trend line support, which goes back all the way to 2011. So the dollar broke support briefly and has been working to regain that level of support, which is now resistance. And so far, what we've gotten is the breakdown, a retest of the underside of resistance. So this level, this long-term level, was support. When it broke 2 days ago, when this level of support broke, it flipped and became resistance. So when price moved back up towards what is now resistance, we should have been expecting it to be rejected. And that's exactly what we've seen so far, that the dollar broke down, was then retested the breakdown level, and was rejected by it so far. So a lot of volatility on today, the Fed announcement. I think that we were all expecting that there was going to be a lot of volatility into the FOMC decision and on the, yeah,